following presentation is for mature audiences only.
Who are you?
He's a fine man.
All hell is broken loose.
He's a great broadcaster.
He's a very powerful guy. Absolutely brilliant.
Feared by men, adored by women.
He's a smart boy.
It's patriotic.
It's no big deal.
It's the end of the world.
I might as well tell you now. He's a monkey.
And how you doing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? Welcome into another edition of The Wild Side with Eric Clark. I am your host, Eric Clark, saying thank you for taking time out of your busy day to give my video a watch and a listen. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're linked up with me on social media. That way, if there's a song, a band, a video, something you want me to check out, you can hit me up with a DM or leave it in the comment section below. If you are going to leave it in the comment section below, just do me a favor, read through. If someone's already made your suggestion, leave a like and an I concur. That'll help me out. Put it in the handy-dandy notebook, and then we can get on and with business. Of course, I do want to say thank you to everybody. Over the past couple of weeks, I have been dealing with some personal stuff. I want to thank everyone who's reached out and wished me well, checked on me, sent condolences. Thank you very much. We're back in the saddle, going to start cranking out some more content, but thank you for sticking with me through a little bit of a speed bump. I also want to thank Aspen Dental, Connect 200, and Music to See. They are those that power the wild side with Eric Clark. Sunday night, I got a DM from someone asking me if I just saw what happened on the Oscars. And I said, yes, of course I did. I didn't see it live because I don't watch award shows, but I did see it on my Twitter because Will Smith and Chris Rock blew up the internet with what happened. And the person reached out and said, hey, Eric, you've performed live. Has this ever happened to you? Has anyone ever gotten up and physically assaulted you or anything like that while performing? And I have to say, yes, I've been threatened over songs, bands, weather, school closings, opinions, the Beatles. I was almost murdered over the Beatles. But yeah, I've been threatened. At comedy shows, I've dealt with hecklers. I've been greeted after shows with angry people about jokes I've told. So yeah, I've had that, but I've never had anyone physically assault me. I don't know. I don't feel myself to be an imposing individual. I don't think I'm a scary dude. It's just never happened to me, maybe because I've never crossed that line. But I started telling jokes at a very early age. I learned very early that I didn't have the same fear other people have when it comes to speaking in public. As a matter of fact, if I'm not on stage speaking, why am I here? I'm more comfortable up there than I am in the crowd. And I learned that at a very early age when I told my first joke publicly. I told my first joke when I was 9. My parents were having a little party with a bunch of adults. I came through. Even though kids were not allowed because it was the 70s, no one cared about kids. I saw the guy that lived across the street. His name was Jack Starrett. I saw him and said, hey, Mr. Starrett, how you doing? He said, hey, Eric. I said, hey, you want to hear a joke? He said, hey, everybody, little Eric's got a joke. So 9-year-old Eric told the joke, what do you get when you cross a rooster and a jar of peanut butter? And in front of all of these adults, I said, a cock that sticks to the roof of your mouth. Now, I don't really remember anyone laughing, but I do remember the looks on the women's faces. That a 9-year-old just dropped that. But to my 9-year-old brain, it was a man and a rooster and a jar of peanut butter because I knew what a geek was. So I pictured a geek at a carnival taking a rooster and jamming his head in a jar of peanut butter and eating it, which is hilarious. Not really, but to me, the cartoon visual was funny to me. And to this day, it still is funnier, even though now I know why everybody was offended by that joke. But every guy I remember standing there kind of holding in a laugh. But I remember my dad taking me off to the side and explaining to me, this is my first lesson in public speaking, while introducing me to Red Fox and George Carlin and Lenny Bruce and other comics, Jack Benny and Henny Youngman, people like that. What he did is he told me about timing. In comedy, timing is everything, right? Not just the punchline, but know your audience. Know your audience, and it's not can the joke be told, it's should the joke be told. That was my first lesson. Now we fast forward to high school. I'm doing stand-up, open micing out of Ron Bennington's comedy scene in Clearwater, Florida, along with guys like Lester Bibbs, Steve Eric, Kevin Rogers, Gary Wilcox. Lou Angel Wolf was the MC. He's really the one that guided me along my path. He's now MC all over Florida. He's voted one of the funniest comedians in Florida. Straight up club comic guy. This is mid-'80s when Andrew Dice and Sam Kinison, comedians were putting just as many people in stadiums as rock bands were. So I was cutting my teeth around the same time Chris Rock was. But I'd always planned on joining the Army. So I only got so far into it. It was just an outlet for me, a way to vent on Sunday nights. I also ended up getting paid to host my high school talent show. So that was pretty cool, too. But I also got to work with a guy named Jim Brewer, who later went on to Saturday Night Live. And every time we get together, we really spend more time And guys at the I remember I was interviewing him at a radio station, and all we talked about was the open mic nights at Ron Bennington's and piling into his van and then driving over to Coconuts. The way that the comedy clubs did their open mic is they staggered it. So if you didn't get on at one club, you had enough time to drive over and get your name up on a board somewhere else. So the way they staggered it out was pretty good. But we would jump in his van and drive all over the place. But I learned a lot from those guys in the 80s because the competition was so high and it was so good that you had to bring your A game every time. So you failed a lot, you told a lot of bad jokes. But the good thing was back then, we as comedians would sit around a table and kind of talk to each other. And I remember one night a guy had a joke that he wasn't sure if he should tell the joke. So Lou was like, hey, give it to us. Let us, we'll tell you what we think. So he tells the joke and everybody's kind of talking about it. And Lou said, okay, what won't you joke about? And everybody came up with great answers. And by the time it got around sort of to me, they had already given the answers, and I was like the last guy on Family Feud, right? Where you're like, the toenails. I don't know. So you just come up with a weird answer, and I couldn't answer, and he actually said that's the answer, and I was kind of surprised by it. But what he meant was, as a comedian, you process everything through your humor filter. Everything goes through your humor filter. I have been asked to leave weddings. Everything goes through my humor filter. From things that are good that happen to me to things that are tragic that happen to me. I've been in some very stressful situations cracking jokes because that's how I process everything. And it's pissed off a lot of girlfriends and my late wife. It really is frustrating. But that's how we process everything through the spectrum of humor. The question is then, are you good enough and are you a professional enough to know when and where to drop that joke, going back to the timing? So I learned early about timing and subject matter and reading the room and reading the crowd and knowing whether or not I'm capable of pulling off this joke. And you'll know, because unlike musicians and other performers, dancers, and actors, if they fail or flub or do something wrong or something doesn't go right, they get a little bit of a sympathy clap, or at least a hey, good job clap. If you get up there as a comedian and your joke doesn't land, you'll know. It's called sliding down the steely pole of death. It's where you drop the punchline and all you hear is a server taking a drink order, some ice clinking in the background in a glass. Or the worst one is when you hear someone go, ugh. That's when you know. I dropped a joke about Wuthering Heights. Oh, it was so bad, too. It's my brush with fame. There was a very famous comedian in the room, and I dropped this joke about Wuthering Heights. Nobody laughed, but this guy in the back, this comedian in the back just yelled, people don't read. So it was funny, but it was funny because of what he did. But I never told that joke again because I knew I couldn't script it in a way that it would land properly with my audience. I've told jokes about handicapped people. I've told jokes about my late wife. So that way, when I get to the back and like, hey, I didn't like your joke, I can say, hey, you laughed at the joke about my wife, but then you took it personally when I was joking about you. That's really not fair. And that's how comics see it. Because I'm going to get up there and strip everything off of me, and I'm going to make fun of me. But because we share so much as human beings, that's what makes you laugh, is because it's relatable. Somewhere in your life, there's something in there that relates to you. So that's why you laugh, and you don't control it. Because it's so relatable, you don't control laughter. You don't control laughter or what makes your head bang. You can't control it. So that's why everybody has those songs that you're embarrassed about, because you can't help it. You just, oh, dude, man, I hate this song, but I'm going to dig it. I hate ABBA, but God, I love SOS, man. It's just such a great pop song that you just can't help but to move. Same thing with comedy. You can't help what makes you laugh. I have some very, very, very horrifying jokes, but people laugh at them. Whether it's an uncomfortable laugh or not, people laugh because there's something in there that's relatable. So what you saw Sunday night was a guy who knew exactly where he could walk, and another guy missed the understanding. There's an understanding comedians have. I thought we all had it. There's an understanding all of us have. This is a mature adult understanding that social media has removed from all of us. I said on Twitter, one of our issues is we have lost the collective understanding of universal understandings. We've lost that. Social media has taken it away. So the universal understanding is very simple. If you go somewhere where a funny guy is standing up there and you sit in the front row, he's going to break your stones. He could break your stones. It's possible your stones will be broken. Now, There is a difference, and we know this. This is an adult thing, not a childish, narcissistic, this is about me social media thing. This is an adult, rational, logical understanding. There's a difference between breaking balls from on stage and breaking balls at the cookout. There's a difference between them. One is more instigating than the other. One is more inflammatory than the other. So when people are bringing up free speech, wait a minute, there are limitations to free speech, and that is incitement. So if we're out somewhere and I'm on stage and I tell a joke, and then you come up to me later, which has happened, and yell at me about the joke, I'm going to point to the fake brick wall and the sign that says Chuckle Hut and say, what did you expect at a strip mall with a Korean nail joint next to it? What'd you expect? You're an adult. You came to a comedy show. This is what happens. There used to be that universal understanding. Social media has removed that. Now everything is about you, isn't it? Everything's about you. The whole world's about you. This little bubble that you've built, this little safe, secure bubble as you sit in the corner in your underwear like Pookie, sucking on the crack pipe of social media addiction for the like and the share and the tweet. And it's very ironic. Please know that it's not lost on me that we're getting ready to talk about Chris Rock, who portrayed Pookie. That social media is this moment. There's a band called Nightwish. If you don't know who they are, go back in my inventory, check out my reactions to them, then get into the band. Their recent album is called Human Nature. Cut 2 is called Noise. And it is basically this moment. It's describing the disgusting, narcissistic, malignant egotism that is breeding people through social media. It's all about you. Will Smith, the Oscars were all about you, my man. This moment is all about you. You felt like you could stop and do that and nobody would say anything. But let's look at the video first, because I have thoughts about the video. The video. First and foremost, joke was typical. It was typical. It was harmless. It's a harmless joke. Chris Rock joked about Jada Pinkett Smith having a shaved head and made the comment about G.I. Jane 2. So Will Smith laughed. And if you're married, you know what a look is. He laughed, and then he got the look, and then this happened. This is actually from the Japanese television station that aired the uncensored situation. This is straight from it. This dude, JT_22, ripped it. I don't know. But this is the first, the original of what came out. Now, here's why everybody thought it was fake. Let me go back and show this real quick. Here's why a lot of people thought it was fake. That's why. Okay. I don't want to shock you people. I don't want to surprise you, and I don't want to burst any bubbles. But you know that's not Muhammad Ali, right? You know that's not I Am Legend. You know that's not Nick Lowry. That's Will Smith, a pampered, sheltered, spoiled, super entitled superstar. He's not a fighter. He doesn't know violence. He's not trained in violence. So that's why I try to explain to people about coming out of the military. I don't think you understand how we are trained for violence. Quick, decisive, make a command decision violence. So when I see something like that, that's not violence. Meaning, that's not someone who knows how to commit violence on somebody. And I also think there was still a part of him not wanting to do that. I really believe that Chris Rock, the entire time up to this point, thought this was a bit. I think he thought it was a bit the whole time. You can even see he kind of sticks his face out a little bit. Like, what you gonna do? Like, what you gonna do? But that reaction, you can see him kind of raise his arms up. That's when he realized this dude's serious. But the problem is he's still smiling. So that's why a lot of people thought it was fake. But he's not smiling because he's laughing. That's rage. That's an uncomfortable, awkward rage. And then when he sits back down in his chair and he starts crying or blubbering about keep my wife's name out of your mouth, that's when everybody started to realize that it was serious. Because no one thought it was serious up to that point. And him doing that, the way he did that, the shot didn't help. The little awkward stuntman slap And you could tell Chris kind of blocked it with his shoulder a little bit, kind of a thing. It was very traumatic, I'm sure. Oh, wow. So he goes back to his seat. This is where he realizes, I think, that in the South, we have an expression called show your ass. And I think he's realizing right now that he just kind of showed his ass. But what did he do? Instead of going back to his seat and just, letting it go, he doubles down, starts screaming, I'm not going to put that in there because it's really not important. It's not important because this was all about him. But I do want to get to one very cool part of this video. And this is the part of the video that really separates Chris Rock from everybody in that building. This moment of the video really tells you how professional Chris Rock is. There's a moment.
Okay.
There it is. This moment tells you how much more of an adult, a professional, a friend, a comedian, an artist, and a human being Chris Rock is than Will Smith. Because unlike Will Smith, Chris Rock stopped himself.
Okay.
That moment right there tells me everything about Chris Rock. He doesn't have to do anything anymore. Doesn't have to respond. Doesn't have to do anything. That moment right there sealed it for me. And I think a lot of comedians caught that. I saw some other comics responding, and they caught that too. Ooh, bruh. This could have gone really bad, but Chris kept it, and he was professional. That's the one thing I always took pride in, wearing the shirt with whatever logo I have on. I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to maintain a level of professionalism that separates me from the listener, separates me from other DJs. I'm not going to come out here and get hammered and act a fool because we're at a bar having a good time, giving away tickets. My job is to throw the party, not be the party. So I'm not going to get involved in the mess. And that's what Chris had the option to do right there. Continue to be in the mess, swim in that filth that was just created by this arrogant, egotistical, malignant, narcissistic, putrid human being over an unfaithful wife's look. He took the high road. And he continued to do so. He's not going to press charges, he said. He also said he doesn't want the Academy to take away Will Smith's Oscar. Because, again, what's it going to do? What's it going to do? It's not going to do anything. Nobody's going to learn lessons here involved. Chris doesn't need to learn any lessons here. The joke, I don't even want to hear about it. Once people got to the she has a disease, once the hyperbole kicked in, that's when I step away. That's when I step away and go, okay, you're children. You're angry, spoiled little kids, and your favorite celebrity did something and you want to jump on board. Or my favorite one is what really social media has created, anonymous contrarians. Anonymous contrarians. I'm just going to say the opposite because why not? Because fame and infamy don't exist in social media. It's all the same. Good and bad don't exist. Words don't matter anymore. They don't. Nothing matters on social media. So it didn't matter that the adult way to handle this would be to go backstage and give them a so you know speech. So you know, man, you crossed the line. I've given them to people. Hey, man, so you know, you crossed the line. Do it again, we'll have another conversation. Well, what are you going to do about it? Say it again, and we'll see. We'll see how I feel at that point. We'll see how I want to react. But just so you know, here's what you did. That's the adult way to handle it. I don't like it because I really want to take my anger out and rage, because that's the child in me. That's the undisciplined child in me. I remember a sergeant telling a kid in basic training, the only thing keeping you upright and conscious is my discipline. And I thought, that's pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Scary. Absolutely terrifying. And that's what made it so cool. You just looked this dude in the face and was like, the only thing keeping you up right now is my discipline. And I thought, wow, I got to remember that. I've never had a chance to say it to anybody, but that's the epitome of manhood. That's the epitome of honor. It's the epitome of control and discipline. Yes, you have pushed me to my point. Yes, you have crossed a line, but I'm not coming down into the pit with you. And that's what Chris Rock showed right here. And I love that. That little moment, man, that little moment is very important. Very important.
Okay.
He could. That phrase, oh, I could. Because there's so much more. There's so much more. And the video itself is fascinating. The responses have been ridiculous. But really, what I'm focused on out of all of this, and nothing's going to happen, dude. Nothing's going to happen to Will Smith. He's not going to lose any jobs. He'll go away for a little while. He'll do a little hiatus or something like that. Tom Cruise will step in, soothe everything over, and everything will be fine. Trust me. You'll understand. If you know the connection, you understand. Really what fascinates me about this video, honestly, is how infantile the reaction was. And it's all coming from social media and the pressure of putting your business on the streets like that, living your life that transparently, especially when your life is going tits up. Your wife sat there, bro, and admitted to being unfaithful, and you sat there and took it. It's ridiculous. That right there is that moment of him he's dealing with these other things. When I was dealing with my wife's passing, I dealt with a lot of rage. I was dealing with a lot of anger, and I still do. Not just from my wife passing, but a lot of things in my life have created this quick to rage thing. But I've taught myself through discipline, through training, through trial and error. I've conditioned myself. When I feel it building, when I feel my ears getting warm, and I can feel the inner Irish getting in me, and I feel it building up. So I don't drink alcohol. It's really why when people say, hey, you want to drink? No, I do not. I am obnoxious sober. You don't want me drinking. You really don't. When I feel it coming, I have to breathe and say, okay, am I getting ready to yell at this old lady because she's a twat waffle, or am I going to yell at her because I got something going on that I haven't dealt with? Usually it's the latter, and that's what you've seen here. But what's amazing to me, this guy spent 40 years building a career as an actor, a singer, a dancer, a musician, a rapper, a director, a father, a leader in the community, a leader in the Church of Scientology, and slapped it all away over a look from an unfaithful spouse. I'm fascinated by that. I really am. I'm completely, dude, so what? She gave you a look. Deal with that in the limo on your way back to your mansion where you don't have to worry about anything ever, anywhere. Will snapped. And I think it was the pressure of immediacy, the pressure that he knows every time he turns around, somebody's out there saying something to him because they have access. It's just nonstop pressure on these people. They're not like us. They're celebrities. They live in a completely different world. They have none of our concerns. Dude, this woman cheated on Will Smith with a friend of her son and called it an entanglement. Nowhere but in Hollywood do you hear about adultery being called an entanglement. No, an entanglement is like your shoes getting tied together. An entanglement is like a traffic accident. You banged another dude and then went on TV and told everybody. An entanglement, and made yourself out to be the victim. Why? Because they know social media will defend any horrible behavior I show. Anything, no matter how horrible it is, somewhere on social media will be an anonymous contrarian who will support the worst example of behavior. We see it all the time. From First Amendment auditors who are out there trying to incite a reaction from the police. From people on TikTok acting like they're owed something because they have followers. Who are you leading? I don't like that word. Twitter needs to get rid of that word because what you've seen is a God complex. Will Smith thought the world was about him. Who does that? People with God complexes. Why? Because he has followers. He's a leader. He's a leader of people. He's going to show them. Oh, act. You're an idiot. And everybody following you is an idiot. Why are you taking your social cues from an actor anyway? Or a politician? I just never understood. But social media has created this access to this level that is not like you. So you feel like you're a part of it. And like I said, the responses to the video were absolutely ridiculous. The defenses of Will Smith. No, man, the dude screwed up. He did it. He ate it. He's got to eat this, man. But again, nothing's going to happen because there are enough people out there who are defending him. If I were Chris, best advice, bro. Publicly forgive, show sympathy. Say, hey, man, I hope you get everything together, dude. I know you got a lot going on. I'm really sorry that this happened. Do not apologize for that joke. Don't apologize for the joke. And I hope you double down when you start going on the road and all your sold out shows. Please, don't apologize for the joke, but show sympathy. Show them, hey, man, look, I know you got a lot going on, man. I'm sorry that it came to that. I'm sorry that this happened. Don't apologize for the joke. But then you don't have to deal with Will Smith anymore. He's shown you who he is. You don't have to deal with him. Make sure your manager, your people know, I don't even want to talk to the guy. I can survive the rest of my career in Hollywood without Will Smith. You don't need Will Smith, Chris. So just, you know what, be the adult. Cut him off. You don't need that in your life, dude. You don't need that relationship. Anyone tells you that you need that relationship with Will Smith is financially benefiting from that relationship, and they don't care about how you feel about it. Know that. Okay? These are all sycophants and starfuckers. They don't care about you really, dude. And even in a sense, I don't know you. But the best advice I could give would be, hey man, show contrition, show sympathy, show forgiveness. But just because you forgive doesn't mean you've got to forget and move on like nothing happened. Because nothing didn't happen. The man slapped you. And for all the people that said, hey man, it's a black thing, insulting a woman's hair. Really, I grew up in the hood, bro. You know what's a bigger thing than a woman's hair? Slapping a dude. The N-word and slapping a dude. Those are, bro, the two things that humiliated black men the most growing up was slapping him with an open hand or calling him gay. The down low. He accused him of being on the down low. That was really more atrocious. Those were the most egregious things you could do in that community. I grew up in that community. So you can't say it's that. You can't say it's black rage. You can't say it's Trump's fault. You can't say it's white supremacy. What you can say is social media has bred an entire society filled with people who have God complexes bordering on malignant narcissism, and I'll even say Munchausen syndrome, because your people are getting outraged by proxy. You're being aggrieved by proxy for this person that doesn't really affect you, but you're going to take it upon yourself to speak for that person, for that outrage, for that offense. That's what social media has bred. A bunch of assholes. And that's what you saw. You saw a man who acted like an asshole, and the world supported him in it. And that's why he did it, because he thought, I can get away with it. But like I said, he will. Tom Cruise will step in. He'll solve everything. He'll cure everything. And honestly, to me, there's a lot more you could bag on the Smiths about. Like, remember this? Do you remember that? Do you remember Wicked Wisdom? Like, you could go so many directions here, man. Remember when Jada Pinkett Smith had a metal band, and they wanted you to believe that this was a metal band, and then they got booed off the stage at Ozfest because it was like, this is like a pop band. If that's a stretch. Oh, that is a stretch to call it a pop band with a little bit of metal tone to it. But yeah, there's way more you could bag on about. Now look at this. This is horrible. Mid-2000s cringe metal. Absolute cringe. Look at that. A minute 32 intro for another 30-second intro. You got 2 minutes of her sitting around doing nothing. Into your commercial metal. The band wasn't bad. The band wasn't bad. She's just not a metal singer. But yeah, there's so much more you could have gone with, bro. But even then, the G.I. Jane joke wasn't bad. It was ridiculous. But again, I've only had a couple of instances where somebody has approached me violently and it didn't really pan out the way they thought it was going to. One time I had to display a tool of defense, but that was just some drunk guys in a garage somewhere, and it didn't pan out the way they thought it would. So, but yeah, it's to the point now where, I remember years ago Chris was talking about not doing colleges anymore. I've done colleges where you come off stage and it's just, oh God, gender studies, here they come. I get it. Social media is ruining comedy. It's ruined rock and roll. It's ruined art. It's ruined everything. And that moment at the Oscars really is the indelible moment of our true virus, which is social media. And that's what it's bred. So again, I feel bad for Chris, but I don't think he's going to be, too out of pocket. I don't think Will's going to be losing an Oscar over it. I don't think anybody's going to be affected. I hope Will gets figured out. To have your wife put your business out in the street like that, I can see why it would create that level of rage in you, but to take it out on Chris over a dumb joke like that, that's ridiculous, dude. It's just absolutely silly. And I hope that everybody makes fun of him for it for the rest of it. I hope sports guys now use, hit him like he made a joke about his wife's hair comment in football, stuff like that. I just hope that really the world leans into how ridiculous that moment was. And I hope that it really wakes a lot of people up to how dependent our society and culture has become on the whims and thoughts of spoiled little children. This is what the world is when children dictate the mood and the temperature. You got a bunch of spoiled little kids. It's like a room full of monkeys screaming at each other, spinning in circles in chairs, flinging shit at each other. That's really what social media is. But you can't let it seep into your real life, and Will let it seep into his real life. That's why I ask you all the time, get out and do something, man. Get away from the Matrix. Go be a real person. So those are my thoughts on it, man. So I wish everybody well. I have no ill feelings towards anyone because none of it affects me. I don't really have a dog in the hunt. So those are my thoughts. Thank you very much for the question. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this little comment. It was a little bit different of a video. Hope you enjoyed my commentary. Again, if you have a suggestion, leave it for me below. Hit me up with a DM. Follow me on social media, or make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. I want to thank everybody who's been helping me out, throwing me suggestions, throwing me kind words. I also want to thank Connect 200, Music to See, and Aspen Dental. They are those that power the wild side with Eric Clark. Get out and do something. Make sure you're looking out for each other. Make sure you're looking out for your neighbor. Try to do at least one good thing a day. I am Eric Clark, and this has been The Wild Side.